All right, so we're going to be greetings, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well within your space and time. You should be able to hear me and see me clearly here. So this is going to be the first live transmission of the transmission. Okay, so which is our news and analysis. So I just want to kind of see how this goes and see if you all like it this way versus the other way. All right, so we're going to start here momentarily, and so I'm showing quite a bit on the screen as well. So we're going to see here. Okay, so before we even get into the news, okay, let me tell you all something, right? Yesterday, many of you did tune in when I was on Dr. Kia Pruitt's show, all right, her podcast yesterday. And so during that podcast, you all didn't know, okay, but before it started, I took my gold, or I take my gold every morning, right? So, you know, the gold. And then from that point, I said, know what? I need some tea, right? Because you know we got to have the beverage of choice, right? So I said, what kind of tea do I want? So I said, you know what? Since we're going to be focusing on certain types of conversation, I wanted us to have, I wanted to have the black tea, right? Black tea is really good for the frontal lobe, focus, and so forth, right? That was kind of a mistake yesterday. So
say hello to my little friend.
So as you heard it there, right? Say hello to my little friend, right? And this is this friend and this friend here, right? So what ended up happening is that, let me share my screen here so you all can see. All right, so I ended up taking the gold, and I ended up taking the gold before the show started, maybe about 30 minutes before the show started. And that's what I usually do every day anyway, right? So, and then not long after, let's see here. I got so many screens up over here. So not long after, again, I said I wanted some tea, okay, because we got to have the beverage of choice, right? And hopefully some of you all remember that. So we got to have the beverage of choice. I did the black tea with bergamot. Black tea with bergamot is absolutely excellent for the frontal lobe, focus, and so on and so forth. It does have caffeine in it. Mixing these two man, I was in another space and time, okay? So many of you enjoyed the commentary from yesterday. I enjoyed the show myself. I went back and listened to it, and I was reading you all's comments, so you almost definitely enjoyed the show, and I'm happy about that. But let me tell y'all something, all right? So during the course of the show, you all may remember I was talking, I was going deep into a point, and then I just kind of spaced out for a moment. Now, I wasn't actually empty-minded, okay, or absent-minded, as they say, right? I was actually full-minded, right? Because many of you know that here at the Meta Center, we always are doing things about wellness, and we planning trips, and just all different types of things like that are taking place, right? So on my mind, it's flooded my mind all at once about the some of the plans we have behind the scenes, some of the research that we're doing into the mind and the body and stuff like that, right? And all types of solutions start to come to my mind, right? I'm like, good gosh. I'm like, okay, I was thinking about that for a little while. Okay, I see how that connects. And this is happening at the time, of course, of the podcast, okay? So I'm thinking of this at the time. It was actually so profound, and it hit me so hard that it could have been one of those moments where I'm like, you know what? The show needs to stop now, okay? So I could write some stuff down. So, of course, during the show, you see me just writing things down because it was just hitting me so hard that I had to write it down. So just for you all, be careful in doing the black tea with the gold powder. It was almost a bit overwhelming, okay? Even for me, and I do gold powder practically every day, okay? So that was a bit strong. So just be aware of that. Shout out to everybody who is listening and tuning in now. So without further ado, let's get this show started. All right, so I'm trying out this new platform as well, so we'll go here. All right. Okay, so I'm about to share my screen and move something around here. One moment. So we're going to start with Iran. Okay, so of course, this is the transmission for January 17th, 2024. These transmissions will be the collection of analyst-worthy events from the day prior. Information cutoff was 2200. So first, we're going to start off with Middle East. Okay, in the Middle East, Iran continues its ballistic missile strikes targeting alleged Israeli-linked groups in southwestern Pakistan and ISIS factions in the northwestern districts of Syria. These developments are part of the ongoing regional tensions and conflicts that have profound geopolitical implications. Okay, so now let's move over to the Red Sea. All right, and of course we're going to do metaphysical commentary after this. So in the Red Sea Horn of Africa region, the conflict continues to escalate with Yemeni forces targeting commercial shipping. Another unidentified commercial vessel was recently struck by the Houthi drone in the Gulf of Aden. This persistent conflict has led global insurers to restrict coverage for vessels transiting the Red Sea, significantly impacting maritime logistics and trade. And what does this mean? This means overall higher prices for whatever those goods are, higher prices for everyone. All right. So because they have to somehow get compensation in some way for the fact that they have to do more transit, using more gas, and so on and so forth during that period of time. So let me share something else here.
Welcome back. Well, shipping freight rates have soared due to disruption at the Red Sea, something that we have been discussing at length. A Centrum note indicates this will lead to high insurance costs and more time, and will add to export
dollars in December to close to $2,700 in January first week itself. Shanghai to Rotterdam, the freight has doubled from around 1,700 USD to close to 3,600 USD between December and January itself. And Shanghai to New York has seen a jump from $3,000 to about $3,800 in between December as well as January. That's another 25 to 30% jump. Now, Centrum believes that if these tensions for Red Sea do continue, you'll have to obviously, pay higher for freight, and as a result of which there would be higher ancillary costs like insurance, etc. as well. What does this mean? This means higher freight revenue for companies like GE Shipping and All Cargo, which do operate in the sea freight business. However, we need to be mindful of whether this higher freight rate is a function of higher costs, or is it just because there is higher freight rate because of the tensions that are there. If it's because of higher costs, then obviously the revenues of the companies will be expanded, but so will their expenses. It won't have a positive impact on their EBITDA. Otherwise, it would perhaps see an improvement in the EBITDA. My sense is it will also be on account of higher expenses because of the longer travel time and the transit time, which is moved away from the Red Sea into the Cape of Good Hope.
Okay, so now let's go to the next news story here before we get into the metaphysical analysis. So, diplomatic moves by the White House. The White House has announced its decision to reclassify the Houthi-controlled Yemeni government as a specially designated global terrorist group next month. This move reinstates a classification that was removed in 2021 and reflects the evolving diplomatic stance of the United States in the region. Now, metaphysical analysis. First, I'm going back to the Middle East, right? So we're going back to this one here. Let me move that over here. So we're going back to this one here, okay? So the ballistic missile strikes by Iran carry a deep historical and esoteric significance, reflecting the region's long-standing narrative of power struggles. These strikes can be compared to the ancient Persian Empire's efforts to assert dominance over neighboring territories, symbolizing a recurring theme of regional influence and resistance. Metaphysically, this reflects the dynamic interplay of forces such as ambition and survival, where Iran's actions are not just strategic maneuvers, but also a manifestation of a historical and cultural identity seeking to reassert its position in the modern geopolitical landscape. All right. So, now moving over to the Red Sea attacks here. The ongoing conflict in the Red Sea transcends mere territorial disputes, echoing the ancient battles for control over the spice route, which was not just a trade route, but a vital energy channel connecting different civilizations. The disruption of maritime traffic by Yemeni forces is reminiscent of historical blockades that aim to control the flow of resources and information. This metaphysical perspective reveals a struggle not only for physical dominance, but also for control over the energetic pathways that have historically been channels for cultural and economic exchange. Now, on to our last story here is how the Houthis, of course, have been yet again specially designated as a global terrorist group. The reclassification of the Houthi-controlled Yemeni government by the U.S. resonates with the historical chess game of global diplomacy, where nations and empires have frequently realigned themselves to maintain or shift the balance of power. This move can be seen as a modern reflection of the Cold War era, where allegiances and classifications were tools in a larger ideological battle. Metaphysically, it underscores the ongoing human struggle to find order amidst chaos in the attempt to influence the collective consciousness through diplomatic means. By delving deeper into these events and drawing connections to historical narratives and esoteric themes, a richer and more profound understanding emerges. These incidents are not isolated but are deeply woven into the fabric of human history, reflecting the eternal dance of power, influence, and the quest for equilibrium in the collective human experience. This concludes the transmission for January 17th, 2024. And on a side note here, before we end this transmission, quite a few people came by today. And just about every person who came by today referenced that they were on the YouTube channel yesterday and they seen the show with myself and Dr. Kia Pruitt. So shout out to everybody who came by today. Shout out to anybody who still may be coming by. Appreciate all of you all. Until the next time we speak. Take care.